Scooby-Doo. This is FSPN, the most trusted name in fake news. I'm Frankie from Flatbush. The feds hate me. The most shady. Frankie Baby. Now let's get into the news. First item, new defensive end. What? Yeah. As reported by Dennis Wazat of the AP, we picked up a guy who's a defensive end linebacker type. His name is Pascal Ekeji. Who? What? Yeah, he's an international pathways player person guy, dude, and very interesting. 6 foot now. He's from Nigeria, so he's had a long way to come to the NFL. He's lived in Nigeria and Lesotho, whatever that is, and South Africa, and all these places. And he's a rugby guy. He's a professional rugby player. And he came in for a workout, and then we signed him. Now, the reason this is notable is because a lot of times when these rugby players come in, they don't get signed. I mean, think about it. They come in, the coaches put them through the drills, and they've seen, obviously, 10 million players run these drills. So they know what it looks like when when you look like a player, and they know what it looks like if you're just, okay, you don't got it. And 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, these rugby guys come in and they can't get a contract, even for the practice squad. There's really only been one guy who has been an impact IPP player, and that's Jordan Mailata of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he went to Stoutland University, so that helped. But nobody else really has made, to my knowledge, a big impact on this IPP program, even though it's a good idea on the NFL's part. Now, this kid is 23 years old. Like I said, he's been a professional rugby player. He is 6'4". That's good. 230 pounds. A little light. So the reason that it's exciting, though, is because he came in for a workout and then we signed him. So our coaches took a look at him doing the drills and said, something here, worth a practice squad slot. And so that's kind of exciting in a certain sense. We wouldn't waste our time with this guy if he just came in and, just couldn't do it and just had no shot. So now if you could, probably the most optimistic outcome for him would be making the team next year as a Bryce Huff type in terms of role. Third down specialist comes in, just say, go kill the passer. And if he's got the bend and the flexion and all of the good stuff, maybe he can do that because he's 6'4", 230, and he had to get up to 230. So he's light, and he's not going to be, he's not going to be some sort of 4-down, 3-down player. It's 4-down player these days with as much as the teams go for it on 4th down now. He's not going to be that, but maybe he could come in and play a role. That would probably be a huge success, obviously, for him and for this, and for international pathway players in general. Now, he is a Lesotho-born of Nigerian descent and grew up in South Africa, and he has, they said he has citizenship in all 3 of those places, and now he's in America. Very interesting guy. I watched a couple of videos of him being interviewed. Very smart guy. So here you have a smart guy with a rugby background, 6'4". That's what you like. Very long arms and long hands, long legs. So think of like a Jonathan Cooper type of body type. And he's originally from Nigeria. Grew up in Bloemfontein. Played for Grey College and played rugby union for Free State in the Craven Week. I don't know what any of this means. He then attended Stellenbosch University. All right. So he originally tried out as a wide receiver, because the NFL has these camps all over the world trying to find these guys. And he was described then as a potential wide receiver who looked the part in every way. The size, smooth in and out of his breaks, and very coachable. So maybe he's got something. Who knew that the Jets were looking all over the place for this? I think that's another good thing about this signing. It shows you that Muji and Eedi are going to all ends of the earth to try and look for talent. And if this kid could be part of the program, he's 23 years old. He's got some physical traits and tools. And obviously, to be a rugby player, you got to be pretty tough. So he's got toughness and all that. So, yeah, maybe. And it would be helpful because if he could be on the 53 man, that's just one less thing we need. Because we got a lot of needs on defense. I mean, we got a lot of needs on defense. We need at least 2 defensive ends, 2 defensive tackles. We need a linebacker or 2 or 3. We need safety. Probably need some backup corner. I mean, we need a lot of stuff. So if this guy could come in and play some kind of role, obviously he'd have to be a special teamer too. And if he's flexible enough to be considered a wide receiver at one point in time, maybe he could play specials, so that gives him an advantage. And then if he could be a third down specialist, that would be fantastic. Pascal Eedi. I love these kind of stories. So I'll be following this kid for a long time. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to put on this thing. We got some talking points over here. We got a docket. I forgot about the docket. Yeah, and there you see, it says right there, new DN. It's been a long day. There's a lot going on. All right, so that's it for old Pascal Eedi. I'm going to keep a close eye on that kid. Very likable. If you go to YouTube, just type in his name and watch a video of him being interviewed. You'll love him. You'll fall in love, and you'll say, "This kid, wow, he can really do something." Who knows if he can do something? But he's a nice guy, very smart, and has the body type. We'll put up some pictures of him here, so you can see what the kid looks like. All right, next news. AG presser. So AG had a presser. Nothing really too much coming out of the presser. Stressed improvement. He wants the team to show improvement and all this. That's his new angle. Ever since we realized, okay, Fields isn't the guy, the angles have been improvement and foundation. Those are the buzzwords for our team now. But of course, you play to win the game. We all know that. He also said, looks like Braylon Allen out for the season, so they're not going to bring Braylon. They're not going to play around Braylon. Just you're out for the year. See you next year. And Braylon Allen, of course, will have a role on the team. Now, he was asked, interestingly, by Eric Allen, the Jets reporter, about Eedi. And I thought it was interesting because that's a good question by Eric Allen. And that's a question that would never, ever be asked by our bum beat. Those bums, the beat reporters. Boy, how I hate them. But the beat reporters would never ask that question because it's not going to get any clickety-clicks. It's not going to be good for their business to ask about some obscure guy that we signed from South Africa. It's not going to be what they're talking about. But I give kudos to Eric Allen for asking the question, and AG just basically said, well, he just got here. Well, what can I say? I was just talking to all I've done is have one conversation with him. We like him, but, give me a chance to see what he can do here. So just kudos for Eric Allen, at least the Jets try to balance out. I wish we could get more independent media in that room. During training camp, they get the Jets X Factor guys in there and some other guys. I wish there would be more because, the questions from the bum beat it's tiresome and it's stupid and they're all trap questions anyway. All right, third talking point, third thing on the agenda here. Harry Healing. All right, so the injury report. We got an injury report. And there's an addition. So Harrison Phillips, the good news is he went from DNP to LP to FP. So today he was full participant, so that means he has no status he does have a status. They call him questionable, but he was full participant, and so he almost certainly will play. Joe Tippmann was a personal issue. He just missed a couple of days of practice. He was back today and fully practiced, good to go, no injury status for Joey Tips. But now the only concerning thing is Jarvis Brown-Lee was put onto the report with a DNP on Friday today with a hip injury, and he's questionable. So that one's we don't know. We'll know more when we see who they call up on Saturday, if they do call up some corners to just in case, that will tell you it's not looking good. If they don't call up any corners on Saturday, then you know it's looking good for Sunday. So Harrison is the most important. Well, Harrison and Tippmann, and they'll both be playing. And then Brownlee, okay, then it'll be Isaiah Oliver over there, and we'll see if we call some people up. We do have corners, of course, on the practice squad. I'd like to see Nick Needham come up. But we'll see. Maybe more run for Dean Clark at safety, and then you'd put Malachi in the slot between Malachi and Isaiah. They'd probably switch it up that way, and then maybe Dean Clark, back at safety, so something like that with TA back there. So there'll be some mixing and matching of that in the event that Brownlee can't go. The baby linebacker, they call him Brownlee. They're calling him the baby linebacker. But for the Falcons, these Falconians that we got to play over here, Drake London's out. And Josh Woods, linebacker Josh Woods, I don't know who that is, out. Malik Verdon, linebacker, out. Chris Lindstrom, now, that would be a big loss for them. That's their very good guard. He's questionable, so I have to see about that. And people who don't have a game status, therefore are playing: David Onyemata, Charlie Werner, Caden Ellis, Leonard Floyd, Jake Matthews, Cadarrell Hodge, Matthew Bergeron, J.D. Bertrand, Divine Diablo, and Liam Michola. So all those people, look at that now. Look at that injury list compared to ours. So the Falcons play on turf. We play on turf. They have a huge injury list. We do not. And that's what makes it hard about the playing surface debate, because it's not cut and dried. It really isn't. Somebody who wanted to take the like a Woody Johnson or maybe an Arthur Blank as well to say, hey, the turf really doesn't. You look at this injury report. I mean, it's already week 13, and we got 3 guys on ours. One was personal. That's not an injury. So we basically have 2 guys, and we play on turf. And the Falcons have all these people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have like 13 people, and they play on turf. So how do you figure this? So there is an element of luck with it, but we're in good shape injury-wise. As far as the game, Kirk Cousins, I believe, is going to cook us up. I think he's going to carve us up. That's what I think. People who think Kirk Cousins is washed, I don't think so. We'll see. Maybe he is washed. Who knows? All right, next news on the old agenda here. We got some Rosenblatherings. Zach Rosenblatt, one of the 3 reporters of the Jets that actually matter. You got your country club Connor Hughes. You got your Dick Chimney, the smoke blower. And you got Zach Rosenblather, who says he doesn't really like football so much as he likes writing about human interest stories, and football lets him do that. So he doesn't really like football so much, but he likes human interest stories. So that's Zach Rosenblatherings. Now, he says, so today's column is looking at the negative side of next year and the Glenn regime, whereas earlier in the week he tried to take the positive side. Number 1, quarterback questions. Wow, that's insightful. You think? Jets losing, same old Jets style. All right. But a lot of these things that they're writing about now, you'll remember I told you what's going to happen. I'm just going to keep reminding you of this. They're going to bring it back to the coach, and they're going to bring it to the coaching and this and that. We looked on the Coffee with Frankie lives in the summertime. We looked at the roster, and I told you we have the fewest number of average or better players in the AFC East. Therefore, we're going to come in last unless the offensive line plays at an elite level and then Justin Fields plays at a high level. Those are the 2 ways you can lift up a team with subpar personnel in the NFL. Those things didn't happen. The line's been average and getting better as the year goes on, so that's good, but they haven't been elite. And Fields didn't improve at all, and Fields was not good enough. And so here we are. So now that all these people are going to try to write all these articles about this and that, it's about getting the right players, and in the NFL, the quarterback. And then the next thing, lack of identity on defense and coordinator questions. The identity will be when we have really good players, they're going to play really good and tackle people and sack the quarterback, and then we'll have an identity called good defense. And the coordinator will look really good. You notice they're saying like Matt Burke is some defensive genius now because Matt Burke, I'm sure, is a fine coach. Coach Burke, no shade on Coach Burke. I'm sure he's very good. But they're calling him one of the best in the NFL. Nobody had heard of this guy 3 years ago. You know how I know that? He was on Coach Saleh's staff. Yeah, with us. He was our game management coach. Now all of a sudden he's a defensive genius. You know why he's a defensive genius? Because he has Will Anderson and Daniil the Real Deal Hunter and all these people and like a loaded defense. And it goes to say it's the same thing for Raheem Morris. It's the same thing for Jeff Ulbrich. It's the same thing for Robert Saleh. It's the same thing for whoever Shula, whoever the D coordinator is for the Rams. When they load up the defense, the coordinator looks really smart and really good. And when the defense gets hollowed out, like the end of the Saleh era here, previous to Glenn, well, then Robert Saleh wasn't such a defensive genius no more. But when he had all of his people and had a stacked, roster, especially on the D line, and C.J. Mosley and the linebackers were good. Oh, then he was a genius, and then he wasn't so much of a genius. It's the players. It's the fucking players. It's the players. Now, you do have to have good coaching. It's not to say you could, like, look at Adam Gase. You really just want coaches not to bring down the players and at least have a good atmosphere, at least have them feel good about coming to work every day. They like you. You're a good person. You care about them, and you have solutions when they have problems. That's basically coaching. Everybody runs the same drills. Everybody gives the same speeches. Everybody gives the same cliches. But so as long as you can solve their problems when they have problems, why are they running this? How do we solve for this? As long as you can answer that, and as long as you're just generally a good person, they like coming to work for you, then it's just a matter of, do you have enough high quality players on the roster? And gets to point number 4 in the Rosenblathering column. No takeaways. Does this really matter? It's going to be a talking point because it's weird. We only have 1 and no interceptions. But if we were to have a game where we held the other team to 3 and out every time, 3 and out punt, 3 and out punt, 3 and out punt, every time, 10 times, would it matter that we didn't get an interception? No, just play good defense. Defense has been playing a little bit better, but we still just don't have enough good players, and that's the way it is. Lack of proven weapons. Same thing on the offense. Hopefully, Mitchie and Mechie solve some of that problem, and then free agency in the draft, and we, pick it up. Breece Hall hands still being ignored. This is like a talking point that won't die. Breece Hall, they said Breece Hall isn't being used enough when in 2023 he had 76 catches. They said he's not being used enough. In 2023, he almost set the single-season Jet record for receptions by a running back. Then the next year, 2024, with Rodgers, we had a little player named Devontae Adams. Do you remember that? And Garrett Wilson. And we had a functioning quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, somewhat functioning anyway, compared to what we had. And Breece Hall caught 57 passes, and that was perfectly fine. This year, we don't have a quarterback, and we famously want to run, ground and pound, and the quarterback has been bad, and now he only has 28 catches with 6 games to go. What are we talking about? He's the running back. He's going to get checkdowns. He's going to get a few screens. You don't want to run the offense throwing the ball to the running back. He's a check down guy. He's a hot route read. He's a occasional couple of screens per game. That's it. These people want to act like you should, every running back who's ever put up numbers from a pass catching perspective is Christian McCaffrey. There's only one Christian McCaffrey. Okay. And the reason they make this a talking point too is because Nathaniel Hackett said something stupid in a press conference one time that got misinterpreted, and now forever it's a talking point with these morons. It's a major knock against Engstrom that he hasn't figured out how to use him in the passing game yet. No, he's figured it out. He knows how to use him. It's called blitz pickup. You can't have Breece Hall going out into the flat if they're blitzing you all the time. He's got to block somebody. And it's not Engstrand's fault if the quarterback doesn't check it down when he's supposed to. That's not an Engstrand. That's on the quarterback. The quarterback makes all this money because the quarterback's the most important player on the field other than the O-line who has to protect the quarterback. And he has to make all these decisions. When to take a shot, when to go check down, where to move the line. Are we going Rita, Louie, right or left? Quarterback decides that. Who's the mic? 23 is the mic. Quarterback tells you that. So it's not on Engstrand. Could he call one more screen per game? But I mean, I guess. But we haven't had a quarterback who knows what he's doing. Rodgers knew what he was doing, but he was injured most of the year. He had leg injuries that he refused to come out of the game with. So he wasn't the same old Rodgers that we're used to seeing. Before that, we had Zach. Before that, we had Sam. So I understand they have to write something. But again, this is not a football guy. Per his own words, he said, I'm not really a football guy. I'm more of a human interest story guy. That's what he likes doing. So let's take all of his football takes. Now, the reason we read the story is because he does have sources and contacts, and so we have to try and sort of like panning for gold. I never really panned for gold, but in a video game I did. And, but you're sifting through dirt and water, and you're trying to find some gold. So that's us reading through the bullshit that these people. 7 holes on defense. Oh, we already talked about that. Yeah, we got a lot of holes on defense. We better take care of that. Yeah, I would say so. All right, last news. Late breaking news. Now, we had some late breaking news earlier that got refuted, so I wanted to talk about it. Jerry Jones went on the radio and lied. He told a lie. So, as reported by John Machota, whoever that is, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones on 1053 The Fan said he offered the New York Jets a first-round pick and Mika Peepees for defensive tackle Queenan Williams before the season started. I thought that much of Williams. So what he's doing, of course, is trying to sell the idea to Cowboy fans that Quinnen Williams, oh boy, oh my God, you'd rather have Quinnen than Micah, as my nephew calls him, Mika Peepees. You'd rather have Quinnen Williams than him. That's what he's trying to do. And this got refuted by Zach, by Country Club Connor, if I can find it. Country Club says, zero doubt that Jerry said this. However, this was never actually offered to the Jets, I'm told. So again, there was conversation between owners. It was a brief one. Cowboy source told me the Jets weren't ever going to the monetary value needed to extend Parsons. Yeah, so it's a money issue. So we really could not have had Mika Peepees. And it's interesting, though, that we, the idea that we could have traded Quinnen for a 1 and Mika Peepees, that's that's an interesting thing. Country Club says, my assumption, dangerous game, I know, is that Jerry is misremembering or misspeaking on a very short conversation from months ago. I don't think he's misremembering or misspeaking. I think he's a salesman. And he's selling the idea of Quinnen being awesome. And Quinnen's been playing great, by the way, for them. And that's good. I'm happy. I'm happy for Quinnen. He's a great dude. He's great. And I hope he has all the success in the world. I don't hold any ill will toward Quinnen Williams at all. And there's been some talk about his stance. Now, I haven't had time, frankly, to go into a deep dive into the stances of our defensive linemen and where their feet are and where their hands are and this, that. We need a Joe Blewett investigation of this. But and saying, he's back with Aaron Whitecotton over there with the Cowboys, and now he's in attack mode, and he's using a different stance. He's forward, he's back, he's doing this and that. And that's why he's having more production than he did with the Jets. Now, that's an interesting concept, and we really do need a deep dive of what the heck Steve Wilks is doing with this team. Now, it could be that he wants more read react players instead of attack players on his defense. But that is really the difference between a 4 down front and a 3 down front normally. Now, I'm going to say let's let Steve Wilks get the players he wants, Wilks and Glenn, and see what he does with the defense next year. I'm going to advocate for him not being fired because if they're going to implement some read react, which is 2-gap principles on the D line in a 4-3 structure, that's kind of interesting. If they're going to switch to a 3-4, that would also be interesting. The players they've gotten, Briggs, Phillips, can fit better in a 3-4. Maybe Mozzie too, who knows. But it'd be interesting, and it's something to keep an eye on. It's something that we talked about back in the summertime when they were signing a bunch of bums to be on the D line. It didn't make any sense, so we thought, what are they doing? Are they going to have some sort of tight formation, which is basically stuffing things up the middle with the big guys and then having the linebackers fill? What are we doing here? And so it'll be interesting to see. But if you're going to run a traditional 4-3, it has to be an attack front. And then you can understand if we're doing a 4-3 and we're having Quinn in 2-gap, you could see why he was unhappy. That doesn't fit his skill set. And also, if you're going to run a 4-3 and not be an attack front, well, you better be successful with that because it's very unusual. I'm not saying it can't work, and I'm not certainly saying, because I only know the basics of it, and if you know the basics of it, that's better than 95% of the football fans out there. But at the same time, there could be some intricacies that we're missing. That's why I say we need a Joe Blewett investigation. Dum 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 dum. Joe Blewett investigates the stance of Quinnen Williams. But whatever it is, whatever we're doing, it obviously hasn't worked this year. But I personally am willing to give Wilks another year to get all the kind of people that he needs and wants, and then see if it works next. Now, if we're still bad next year, gotta go. See you later. But you got to give this regime a chance to get the type of players that they want. And maybe this kid, Pascal, maybe he could be somebody. Let's hope so. If they can find a diamond in the rough from South Africa, oh boy, that'd be so good. Because the thing about that is, if he were to be able to get any spot on the 53-man for the minimum, obviously you're going to sign him to the minimum, right? And if he plays any type of role, that's value. You're getting surplus value out of that contract, so which allows you to then deploy resources to other places and get more talent onto the team. So let's hope that's the case. Let's keep an eye on what Wilks is doing with this defense, and let's hope as the year goes on, we just see improvement. So far, no bueno. All right, so that'll do it for another Frankie from Flatbush show. Let's turn off the dock and see what happens. Oh, yeah, look, it disappears. And I will see you next time.
Non-pertinent. How do you log that non-pertinent?
No drug talk?
They use codes to hide their patron phone numbers. And when someone does use a phone, they don't use names. And if someone does use a name, he's reminded not to. All of that is valuable evidence.
Of what?
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy?
We're building something here, Detective. We're building it from scratch. All the pieces matter.